everybody, and today I have a new deck for Mad Meta Magic where we try to make the Magic Meta mad. Now, Bone Daddy was messaging me a couple of days ago saying, hey, I have a Grixis deck that I really want you to play. What are you missing? I was like, oh, I think I'm just missing some Scalding Tarns. And I totally forgot about this, but I used some of our sweet, sweet treasure chest money for some cards that I have been forgetting to sell. And I bought the rest of this deck. So Scalding Tarn's now available for me to play things like blue-red turns and etc. Anyway, enough about that. This is a Grixis Flash control deck. Basically, the only spell in the main deck that we can't play at instant speed is Search for Iskanta, mainly because it's way too good even as a one-of, and Kess Dissident Mage. Basically as like a repeatable Snapcaster value that can flashback Snapcasters and can flashback Brazen Borrower. And it's pretty sweet. Oh wait, no, I can't flash. For some reason I was thinking this could cast spells with Flash. I lied. It can flashback Brazen Borrower, though, which does seem like a fun interaction, because we can flash the adventure portion of it back. Anyway, so our removal suite consists of Lightning Bolt, Fatal Push, Drown in the Lock, Eliminate, Kolaghan's Command, and we have counter spells in the form of Force of Negation, Cryptic Command, and a single Logic Knot and Drown in the Lock in the main deck. This deck seeks to leverage Thought Scour on its own cards as well as our opponents, basically to power up either our searches, our frantic inventories, our Snapcaster mages, or milling our opponent for Drown in the Lock activation. Out of the sideboard, we have some Tron hate in the form of Ceremonious Rejection, a few things we can do against Burn with Anger of the Gods, and like Collective Brutality, Kalitas. Versus Control, we have Young Pyromancer for additional threat, Ashiok Dreamrender versus anything that is attempting to use the grave, Counter Squall just as a good negate that also damages your opponent. And yeah, I think I've said enough about this. Now I haven't played this deck yet. I want to make that clear. I have not played this deck yet. So the odds that I'm going to punt are pretty high. But I should play just a regular Control game. And we'll see how we do. Alright, I would like to play first. This hand, I think, it's kind of nice. I just imagine it's too slow. We do have a Thought Scour. You know what? I'm going to try it. I've got a feeling that we don't have enough things to do. But we are against an unknown opponent. I'm going to start Polluted Delta, pass the turn. I'm probably just going to fetch up a basic island and mill myself. Alright, opponent is playing goblins, and they're going to Thoughtseize us. Well, it's better to get some cards in the grave and draw something else they can Thoughtseize. Odds that we draw a land are pretty high, though. Okay, so our opponent can take one of two Cryptics. It slightly worked out to our advantage because they couldn't take away our Thought Scour there. We draw Kess. Since we're not doing anything and our opponent knows we're not doing anything, I'm just going to play Creeping Tar Pit for now. Pass the turn. Gotta hope they don't have the fast combo here. Play Conspicuous Snoop, and they have a Munitions Expert on top. Would like to draw removal. We draw a Scalding Tarn. We do not have... We do... I think playing the Scalding Tarn and thinning our deck is technically correct. So that's what I'm going to set up to do. I was thinking I only needed to play Scalding Tarn if I was going to get a Mystic Sanctuary this turn, because we only have one in the deck. Opponent casts Munitions Expert off the top. They have it target itself. Okay. So I think they were just doing that because they wanted to see what they could draw. They will be drawing Harbinger, though, and that will be the combo, I believe. Opponent plays an Aether Vial. A crack Scalding Tarn. Get a Steam Vents tapped. Want to make sure we can get up to enough islands in play. So I need to Lightning Bolt this now, I think. Yeah, okay. Lightning Bolt, Conspicuous Snoop. It's kind of awkward because I'm not super familiar with the Rakdos Goblins deck, and I'm also not familiar with my deck, which is putting me in a weird position. Alright, so opponent draws Boggart Harbinger and is holding a Tarfire. So we know 2 out of the 5 cards in their hand. They play Matron, revealing Conspicuous Snoop, okay. Attack for 1. Take 1, go to 15. We draw Polluted Delta. Play Watery Grave tapped. I think Cryptic is enough. They can Vial in Conspicuous Snoop. So if my opponent just attacks and does nothing else, I actually want to repulse Aether Vial and draw a card. Or Boomerang mode or whatever, I guess. So opponent plays Conspicuous Snoop. Auntie's Hovel on top. Okay, they do not play the Harbinger. So at their end step, I'm still going to do the same thing. Yeah. So we're still going to bounce Aether Vial and draw. Draw another land. We're running 61 cards and 24 lands. So let's play Polluted Delta. Green, black, red, blue. Play Kess. And we're going to go ahead and Lightning Bolt the Snoop. Kess being a Snapcaster Mage every turn seems pretty good. She's also large enough to block an opponent's creature right now anyway and get around a Tarfire. Alright, opponent plays a Goblin Chieftain. So it looks like they are going to go for the Tarfire kill on Kess. I think we just take 4. She seems like way too much value to just throw away. Opponent replays Aether Vial. Okay, so Polluted Delta. Let's go get Mystic Sanctuary. Put Cryptic on top. Untap. Draw Cryptic. So during each of our turns. So Cling to Dust, Conspicuous Snoop. Gain some life. Play a fetch land. And then eliminate the Chieftain. I'm gonna fetch up a swamp right now. Okay. Past the turn, I think we still have to stay on defense. We have access to Cryptic. We can block pretty safely. We can flashback Cling to Dust to draw a card or gain life, which probably is going to be gain life mode, being completely honest. The opponent does not attack. So Cling to Dust, Goblin Chieftain. Get rid of some of these lands. And a Thought Scour. Gain some life. Untap. We draw a Logic Knot. How much mana do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So play Scalding Tarn. Crack Scalding Tarn. Get an island. I think I'm going to cast Frantic Inventory now. We draw Blood Crypt. We have access to Logic Knot and Cryptic Command. I need to start getting in damage to close out this game. So I think I'm going to start attacking. I feel relatively safe with Logic Knot and Cryptic. Okay. When it ticks up Aether Vial. It's going to play Goblin Ringleader. We could counter it and bounce Mystic Sanctuary. I actually think I'm just going to Logic Knot it, though. For 1? This still lets me leave up Cryptic, if they have something really tricky. Okay, opponent plays a Blood Crypt tapped. Goes to combat. Attacks for 2. Okay, no blocks. We go to 10. And I am going to bounce Mystic Sanctuary and draw a card. Draw Drown in the lock. That feels pretty good. So we untap. We draw Cryptic Command. Mystic Sanctuary. Put Cryptic Command on top. Cling to Dust. We'll hit the Ringleader. I probably should have... Probably shouldn't have done that. But... I should have, like, left up for escape, but at this point it feels like I'm not going to have that many cards in graveyard at any point. So I guess that's fine. Okay, opponent Vials in a 2-drop. It's another Conspicuous Snoop, and they just drew the last one. So... Drown in the lock. Kill Conspicuous Snoop. That's 3 of 4 combo goblins dead. With the last one potentially coming in off of an Aether Vial activation. 5 mana, they're going to cast Kiki Jiki. So I'm going to counter Kiki Jiki. I could bounce Aether Vial, but I'm going to bounce Mystic Sanctuary. Okay. Opponent attacks for 2. Sure. We untap. We draw a Cryptic Command. Oh, I put the other one back, didn't I? Oh, this is gonna feel dirty. So play Mystic Sanctuary. Put Cryptic Command on top of the deck. Cryptic Command. Bounce Aether Vial, draw a card. Drawing Cryptic Command. Okay, opponent's going to Vial in Conspicuous Snoop. They have a mountain on top of their deck. This is potentially dangerous depending on what's on top of their deck under that mountain. But I can't really do anything else with this Cryptic Command at the moment. So we know they're holding Tarfire Mountain. They drew an Aether Vial. I'm pretty sure they're still holding a Harbinger. Okay, opponent attacks for 4, that's fine. I don't think I need to do anything here. Just gonna untap. We draw Field of Ruin. Play Field of Ruin, go to combat, attack for 3. Next turn we have Cryptic, tap and draw, and then Cryptic backup for that Cryptic, which seems pretty sweet. Okay, Cavern of Souls on top of our opponent's deck. We are getting lucky, because if they hit something like a Sling Gang Lieutenant, we're probably toast. Okay, opponent goes to combat. So tap all of our opponent's creatures and draw. Draw Fact or Fiction. So we know our opponent is holding... I think it's Harbinger, Tarfire. Okay, so we untap, draw a Lightning Bolt. Okay, that makes it a little bit safer, but the plan was this. Just activate Tar Pit and attack with Kess. I'll just drown in the locket. Nice! Alright, promising start, Okay, so versus Goblins, I think I want Anger of the Gods. Probably Engineered Explosives. Ashiok turns off their Harbinger and Matron, but it might be too much. I think I want Collective Brutality. And what are we going down versus the Goblin deck? It feels like we have so many cards that are just great against them. Like Kolaghan's Command kills most of their things and kills Vials, causes them to discard at instant speed. I think I'm in danger of over-sideboarding, actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to... Man, I don't know. We have so much single target removal already. I do want a sweeper at least. So I guess Anchor can stay. Brutality is good, but it's sorcery speed and involves us pitching cards. Even though it's gaining life, I'm not sold on it. I guess they technically have Cavern, which makes our counter spells worse. So I'm going to drop a Logic Knot. Drown in the Lock deserves to stay because it's an actual kill spell. Force of Negation is not as good, but you could still hit a Vial on a bad hand. I'll go down 1 Force of Negation. And for my final cut... you know what? I'm only going to bring in 1 Anger of the Gods. No, actually I have to have both, because I'm running 61. I don't need to cut cards, because I'm running 61. I don't know what's wrong with me, I can't count cards. Okay. So game 2, versus Goblins. Lots of removal. We got a Thought Scour. We're on the draw. I don't know if Fatal Push Thought Scour is enough here. We're running 24 lands. You know what? I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it off the strength of 3 castable spells. Even if they start Thoughtseize, we still have plays. They do not start Thoughtseize. They start Cavern. Cavern into Vial. Okay. We untap. We draw an island. Play an island. Pass the turn. I want to see what we get off this Thought Scour before I crack this Polluted Delta. I potentially lose out on a Fatal Push here, which could be really bad. But... Okay, opponent plays a Relic. The cantrip portion of Thought Scour is still what I'm more concerned about. I don't actually need to be flashing back stuff, so the fact that my opponent played a Relic is not too concerning to me here. We mill Lightning Bolt, Watery Grave. We untap, draw Anger of the Gods. So Polluted Delta here is probably going to fetch Blood Crypt. I know islands are really important, but we need red mana. Exile Thought Scour. Okay, opponent untaps Aether Vial. Takes it up to 2. Makes us exile, so we'll exile a Watery Grave. Auntie's Hovel, revealing Snoop. Okay, so they vial in the Snoop, revealing a Boil. Okay, concern intensifies. So we're going to fetch up a Blood Crypt, one of our few non-island lands. We are going to pay 2 life, and we are going to Fatal Push the Snoop. Okay, untap. Draw Cryptic Command. Alright, pass the turn. I should not have kept the 1 land hand. Opponent Vial, or Relics, taking out a Polluted Delta. They take up Vial to 3. Boil online. That's bad. That's really bad. We draw a Thought Scour. So, Thought Scour ourself. Draw Scalding Tarn. Play Scalding Tarn, pass the turn. No need to crack it until we need to crack it. Okay, opponent cracks Relic to draw, that's fine. We didn't have a window to Thought Scour our opponent when we knew about Boil, did we? Because if we did, that was a mistake. Okay, opponent plays a Mountain. 5 mana. An uncounterable Kiki-Jiki. Oh, hang on. Okay. Kiki-Jiki resolves. Okay. They vial in a 3-drop. It's a Goblin Chieftain. They are going to clone it. We can push this right now, I believe. Fetch with Scalding Tarn. I'm actually going to get a Mountain. Just a plain old regular Mountain. Kill the Chieftain. Okay, Kiki's ability fails. We untap. We draw Eliminate. So destroy target artifact. 2 damage to any target. Kill Kiki. Opponent can boil if they want to, and it's just a 4-mana Stone Rain. Then, if we top deck any land... Like, we're probably not casting Cryptic at any point during this entire game. Okay. Opponent boils. Yep. Nice, Oh, what is that called? Oh, what is the 4-mana destroy target land? The bad news is we can't currently cast anything. Well, no, we can cast an Eliminate. So we're not, like, completely defenseless. Well, we can't eliminate a 4-drop, unfortunately. If this is a Ringleader, like it is, we might be in a bad way. So opponent gets a Goblin Matron. I don't remember what card they revealed first. Hang on, let me check the game log really quick. They reveal Goblin Matron, Goblin Ringleader. Okay. So these are the cards they have in hand. Along with 1 unknown. They hit us for 2. Sure. Okay. Would like to draw blue mana. Blue mana, very important. Field of Ruin is technically blue mana. Just slow blue mana. Okay, pass the turn. If they make a big board, we can Anger. And we can even do that after Eliminate to kind of mitigate damage if we have to. I give my opponent Matrons for a Lord. Okay, they're going to play another Ringleader. Oh, 5 mana. Kiki-Jiki. Alright. Opponent has a Kiki-Jiki. They go to combat. They attack for 2. No blocks. Kolaghan's Command. Target player discards a card. Kill Kiki. They can make a Ringleader in response. Yeah, they fetch up a land. They clone Ringleader. They get a Warren Weirding and a Conspicuous Snoop. Okay, we kill Kiki. We untap. I'm playing too slow, I just realized. Okay, pass the turn. The opponent, I believe, is holding these 4 cards. Okay, another Ringleader. Sure. So they get a War Marshal. Agadeem's Awakening is something we have to be aware of. Okay, opponent attacks for 4, taking us down to 8. They play War Marshal, get a token, and they play a land, which means these are the cards they have left in hand. Okay, so we're going to Field of Ruin, get a basic island. Untap. We draw Frantic Inventory. I think we anger now. Okay, exile the board, pass the turn. And hopefully they don't have a one-turn setup that'll kill us here. I mean, if they do... Okay, opponent plays Conspicuous Snoop. Boil on top again. We untap. Draw Scalding Tarn. So, play Scalding Tarn. And... pass. I think I'm just going to Snapcaster Fatal Push. Opponent draws Boil. Munitions Expert on top. So that's kind of a problem, because they can just kill Snapcaster in response. We're still going to go for it. So Snapcaster. Target Fatal Push. Opponent flashes in Munitions Expert. Kills Snappy. Fatal Push. Killing Snoop. They're drawing a Swamp next turn. Okay. Opponent cracks Bloodstain Mire. Gets a Mountain. Plays another Snoop. Sling Gang Lieutenant. They play Goblin Matron. Oh, they just play Sling Gang Lieutenant off the top. Another Conspicuous Snoop. Are we dead? We are very close if we are not dead. So we have to fetch a tap land here. Which sucks, because I'm playing into the Boil I know they have. No, I'm dead. I'm not going to continue to play this out. I'm dead. So my opponent can, what do you call it? They can Sling Gang us for 5, but they have enough mana they could just play Matron and get another Sling Gang of any kind and kill us. Or they could Boil, take out our lands, and then it would just be a bad time. So I have to play really fast. I have to try and, like, tempo my opponent a little bit. So... judging by the fact that they have Agadeem's Awakening as a way to get the combo from the grave late game, I actually kind of want Ashiok. I think I'm going to cut a Cryptic Command for an Ashiok. And I'm going to cut the last Force of Negation for an Ashiok as well. Still don't know if I'm sideboarding correctly. Like I said, I don't have a ton of experience with this deck. This hand looks quite a bit better, especially because we have a blue source that's not an island here. So I'm going to keep this. Hopefully our Thought Scours can find us something. So I have to talk fast and play fast, so my apologies if I punt this away. I have 7 minutes and 44 seconds to win this. So this is the bad thing about playing a control deck that you don't know necessarily. Because control decks, you want to take time to make your decision, make sure you know you're making the right decision. And when you have a lot of games logged in with a lot of different matchups playing a control deck, those responses become close to automatic. The more practice you have, the better you'll be, etc., etc. So, Thought Scour ourself. Draw Polluted Delta. Play Blood Crypt. Okay. Kind of sad to drop that Ashiok into the grave, but kind of happy to see Frantic Inventory there. My opponent kept a one-lander. No, they did not. Okay. Well, the good news is their life total's gotten low. So, play Scalding Tarn, pass the turn. Not having any action here feels pretty bad. We have really, like, tons of good top decks, though. And having 2 lands our opponent can't Boil feels kind of nice as well. Okay. Goblin Matron. They reveal Ringleader. I'm going to thin my deck here because I do want to draw an answer for Ringleader if at all possible. I want Steam Vents, I think. Okay. Untap. Draw Cryptic Command, so play Polluted Delta. That way we're not super telegraphing Cryptic Command, but it is an option. Okay. So far... oh, crap. Cavern is not what we wanted to see. Okay, opponent plays Ringleader. They reveal 3 different goblins. Okay. I'm going to crack for basic island here, and I'm going to tap and draw, because we do need to find answers. You know, the Moto lag is not helping here. I even preemptively, after building the deck, restarted the client so it wouldn't lag as bad. We get a Field of Ruin. That's not great. Untap. We draw Frantic Inventory. So play Field of Ruin. Cast Frantic Inventory. We draw 2 cards. Okay. Drawing mono lands is not how you win the game, unfortunately. If my opponent has Conspicuous Snoop, we're dead. Okay, Sling Gang Lieutenant means they can get in a lot of damage. It also means that they are not soft to a board wipe. Okay, we take 3. Untap. Draw Polluted Delta. I am going to Field Cavern. Get an island. Mystic Sanctuary. We can't draw anything this turn. And I'm going to put Frantic Inventory on top because I want to draw 2 cards next turn if possible. But we kind of got mana screwed here. I don't really see a way for us to win this. I could have played Polluted Delta and fetched up a Swamp to be able to animate Tar Pit and block, but that only prevents 1 damage. Okay, they play Ringleader. They get a bunch of cards, and I'm pretty sure that kills us. Because they can put us to 1. Okay, we draw Frantic Inventory. So, Frantic Inventory, draw 2 cards. And they're 2 more lands, so we scoop it up. So, kind of disappointing. Bringing in more removal in the form of Collective Brutality was probably correct. In fact, almost certainly so. Game 1, I think I played well. Game 2, I misplayed a little bit. And Game 3, we, I think, just got unlucky. But if I knew this deck a little bit better, I probably could have won that match. Alright, round 2. I would love to play first. No way to turn Logic Knot on. I think we got a mulligan for a slightly less awkward hand. And I think this qualifies. It's not perfect, and in fact, I might have to start Mystic Sanctuary tapped, which I'm not too thrilled about. No, we still start Scalding Tarn. And we either put back Kess or we put back Cryptic, I think. I think putting back Cryptic is fine. We don't have too many threats. I feel like that's my biggest complaint about the first round. I feel like I have very powerful tools in this deck, but I feel like in round 1, I didn't have a clock to close out the game. I also really, versus the Goblins deck, I never felt actually like I was controlling the game. It felt like my opponent could, like, in game 1, break out of that at any moment. Alright, we're going to put back Cryptic. And I'm going to start Scalding Tarn. We can deal with a tap land on turn 2. That's not that big of a deal. I'm really glad they finally made like a really playable Cremate effect, or Shambleback, or whatever you want to call the 1-drop like black mana exile a card, do a thing spell. I really like Cling to Dust. I haven't played a deck where it's like super fantastic. And I imagine if there's a deck that it's this deck. Because one of the major reasons that Grixis Control struggled a lot is its tools for like catching up are nowhere near as powerful as White's tools. Okay, so opponent casts a Serum Visions off of a Flooded Strand, so we're against either Storm or Control. I mean, there's so many decks where like this is a fine opener. I'm gonna go ahead and get a Blood Crypt here, untapped. I'm going to Cling to Dust my opponent's Serum Visions on their turn. I would like to cantrip and have more options. We also really need to draw lands. So Mystic Sanctuary tapped here is fine. We have 2 separate things we can do on 1 mana, which is the reason I went for Blood Crypt. We don't have to worry about fetching up islands as much because we will be playing a Mystic Sanctuary here, but islands could matter later for things like Cryptic. Okay, blue-white. Really desperately hoping we top deck a land. Alright, search for Iskanta. Guess we'll play it. If they have a counter spell, they'll counter this. delay. Okay, so delay tells me I am either playing against a knowledge pool Teferi Lavinia deck. It's a Teferi deck. That is super bad news for us, and they played around Bolt. So we do have Eliminate in this deck, but if I can't kill that Teferi in very short order, we are super, super dead. Okay, I'm going to fetch up a Steam Vents. I'm going to cast Frantic Inventory, because I need to draw more lands. Okay. Then I will Lightning Bolt Teferi. I have to do this all sorcery speed, because can't play at instant speed now. F6. Man, the Moto lag is not doing me any justice here. Please tap out. Don't put silence on Isochron Scepter. Game over. Isochron Silence. Alright. For those of you unaware, we can no longer cast spells for the remainder of the game. Gal, what do we do versus that? I guess we bring in Counter Squall. Collective Brutality could be good, just for an additional duress. I'm gonna cut the Fatal Pushes, I guess. And we're gonna run it back. That was brutal. Oh, I actually probably want Young Pyromancer here as well. I will drop... I actually want it over Collective Brutality, and I think a Brazen Borrower. No, not a Brazen Borrower, a Cryptic Command. Okay, cool. Done. So our opponent is playing like our worst Nightmare deck. These socks are brand new. I just put a giant hole in them today. How's that possible? Alright, I kind of like the fact that we have Force of Negation. Drown in the Lock will be great if we get a Thought Scour or my opponent starts Fetch Land Cantrip again. So, start Tar Pit, pass the turn. Opponent plays a Polluted Delta. We draw a Lightning Bolt, play an island, pass the turn. Okay, opponent plays an island. We untap, we draw, Cling to Dust. Play an island, pass the turn. Okay, opponent untaps, plays an island, passes. The awkward standoff. I think I am going to Cling to Dust to draw a card, even though it turns Drown in the Lock into like an unusable spell right now, which is a little bit awkward. But if we don't keep hitting lands to keep our counter spells relevant, we are going to be in trouble. We're going to be in more trouble than Drown in the Lock will ever dig us out of. Okay. Cast a Frantic Inventory. Same reason. Another Frantic Inventory is actually quite good. Draw Search for Iskanta. Okay. I am going to play Search for Iskanta. This is slightly awkward, but I'm going to bank on Force of Negation being good enough. If my opponent goes something like White Land, Silence, Teferi, we are screwed. I'm kind of expecting them to tap out for Teferi next turn, and we have Force of Negation for that. But if that doesn't work, the game is, I think, over again. Okay. Opponent draws. Mystic Sanctuary, they're going to put Delay on top of their deck. Jace the Mind Sculptor. Yep. Pitch, oh, they did not put Delay on top of their deck. Pitch a Cryptic. I think I might actually need that Drown in the Lock. Cool. Alright, we untap. Search for Iskanta ticking down. Not something I usually would say. Frantic Inventory, draw 2 cards. That is very disappointing. Because we needed to hit lands, and in fact still do. I'm going to Thought Scour my opponent because we have Drown in the Lock. We get a Scalding Tarn. Scalding Tarn is a little bit nice at this point. Okay. Opponent untaps. They're going to play a Rest in Peace, which means pitching Drown in the Lock was absolutely incorrect. Kess also loses a ton of value. Okay. Graves exiled. And I mean, so does Snapcaster. On the upside, they're not casting Teferi this turn. Search for Iskanta also is turned into a permanent Scry 1 engine. It will never flip. Alright, we gotta fetch up a red land, so we'll get a Steam Vents tapped. Untap. Search for Iskanta, ticking down. We draw a Snapcaster. Okay. Pass the turn. Leave up Cryptic or Borrower Bolt or Borrower Unsummon and Snapcaster, I guess. I'm not sure. Okay. Okay, opponent casts a cantrip, that's fine. They have a Colonnade. Alright, well, we're going to try and resolve threats, I guess. Go, Brazen Borrower. Get resolved. I'm going to keep Bolt in my hand for a second. Because if I... I got a feeling if I Bolt there, my opponent actually casts a removal spell. If they cast it on my turn, I can at least protect Brazen Borrower for a minute. Okay, we draw Swamp. Swamp is good. Play Swamp. Go to combat. Attack for 3. Man, the lag is pretty bad. Okay. Opponent's turn. They play a Flooded Strand. They crack a Flooded Strand. They get a Snow-Covered Plains. And they play a Teferi. So, counter draw. Opponent has a Dovin's Veto. Okay, Teferi resolves. If they unsummon Brazen Borrower, we can Bolt Teferi to kill it. I guess him. Kill him, not it. Worst case scenario, our opponent like paths and then like upticks Teferi. I guess F6 because we can't do anything else on their turn. They bounce the Borrower. Okay. We untap, search for Iskanta. We will not put Scalding Tarn into our graveyard. We do want to draw Scalding Tarn. Play Scalding Tarn. Bolt Teferi. Pass the turn. Okay. Opponent's turn. They play a Field of Ruin. So Creeping Tar Pit probably goes by. Animating Colonnade, huh? Can I do anything about this? This works, right? I mean, it seems a little bit mean, but we didn't get rid of Drown in the Lock. Kill Colonnade. Less than or equal to. Alright, fetch with Scalding Tarn. Get a Steam Vents. Untapped. Cast Brazen Borrower. Untap. Search for Iskanta. Really? Alright, path resolves. Get a mountain. Search for Iskanta. Force of Negation, I'm actually going to keep on top. So, draw Force of Negation. Pass the turn. I could have attacked with Creeping Tar Pit, but if my opponent resolves Teferi, it's probably game over again. Okay. Cast a Snapcaster. Get him, Ambush Viper. You could do it. Okay. Untap. Search for Iskanta finds us a Young Pyromancer. I will not put Young Pyromancer in the grave. Young Pyromancer seems quite good here. So go to combat. Attack for 2. Opponent takes 2 and goes to 13. Play Young Pyro. I really gotta restart the client after this. Opponent Spell Queller. Okay. They quell the Pyro. Probably activate Field on Creeping Tar Pit. Yeah, it's fine. Get our last island. Was really hoping to use that to actually get in some damage at some point. We never had an opening to actually attack with it where we probably weren't going to die if we let our opponent untap after tapping that much mana. I guess I don't need to be looking at my exile zone. Okay. Opponent attacks us for 2. Yeah, that's fine. And does nothing. Okay, we untap. Search for Iskanta. We will mill Polluted Delta. We need to draw action. Creeping Tar Pit, technically action. Okay, I gotta restart the client. Which is bad, because we're gonna need the clock. But, alright, well, that was relatively quick. That is if Moto doesn't completely lag out. Okay, play Creeping Tar Pit. Go to combat. Attack for 2. Opponent does not block. And we're gonna go ahead and play Kess. Leaving up Force of Negation. Kess, unfortunately, no value other than being a 3/4 flyer, which can attack through a Spell Queller or block it. Opponent's going to play an Isochron Scepter. Yeah, I think we have to counter that. Which they could easily have a second Isochron Scepter. and then just put whatever they were going to put under it. Path Kess. We have nothing. They play a colonnade. And it's a race. We have burn, but we need to draw it. Put Watery Grave into the grave. Draw eliminate. Animate Tar Pit. Go to combat. Attack for 5. If they animate colonnade and swing, we eliminate the Spell Queller. Because then we should have enough... never mind. Unless they use that to pay for colonnade. Okay. Well, we're going to get hit for 6. I forgot that we didn't have any other black mana because of the way that I did this. Untap. Search for Iskanta. Getting silenced. Kill this in response. Okay, Spell Queller lets us cast Young Pyro. We get silenced. Search for Iskanta. We'll mill Cling to Dust because we have nothing to target with it. Draw Polluted Delta. Play Polluted Delta. Go to combat. Attack for 2. And I think that Colonnade has to stay back or they lose to us just attacking with 2 creatures that have 2 power. So we are going to fetch to thin our deck, and if we draw Fatal Push, I think we're good to go. So Polluted Delta, fetch Watery Grave, tapped, untap, search for Iskanta. Yeah, we'll mill Frantic Inventory. It's the same as casting it, just less mana. Gets us the same level of cards deep. We draw Koligon's Command, so go to combat. As long as we can connect with one of our 2 creatures, our opponent dies. Opponent is going to silence, make them discard, and deal 2 damage to them. And I think that does it. Whew! That was an incredibly long game 2. Alright. Oh, we don't have Fatal Push in the deck, because I took it out. Okay. Let me think. Versus the Teferi Silence deck. Push gets a little better because our opponent does have Colonnade. Logic Knot seems actually really bad. Alright, yeah, I guess we'll try it like this. No counter spells, but we have a Young Pyro, and all of the mana we need. Gonna keep. Opponent starts Hollowed Fountain tapped. Draw Force of Negation. That makes me feel way better about this hand. Like, so much better. Okay, opponent plays an island. Passes. We'll crack Scalding Tarn, get a Steam Vents, untap. Draw Search for Iskanta. So, shock Blood Crypt. Attempt to search. Basically to draw out a delay. Or Dovin's Veto. I wanted to play Young Pyromancer there because we could back it up with Force of Negation, but the risk of counterspell is just too high. If my opponent plays Teferi, I might actually just eliminate it on our turn. Yeah, rather than counter. I guess it's bad because I just opened myself up to a Force of Negation if they've got it. So I guess we'll see how much does Kano get punished for this. Not at all. Not at all. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent untaps. Plays a Polluted Delta. Passes. So, fetch with our Polluted Delta. We're going to get a Watery Grave. Tapped. Untap. We'll draw Steam Vents. Play a Mountain. Play Young Pyro. Okay, my opponent might have a Cryptic or something here. Okay, I'm going to F6 because we're not casting anything else on our turn. We can't hard cast Force of Negation, so... We could technically flash in a Snapcaster, but there are no circumstances under which I would do that. Okay, opponent gets a Mystic Sanctuary, puts Dovin's Veto on top of their deck. Spell Queller. Okay. So my opponent has a Dovin's Veto. They play a Polluted Delta, they fetch a Hollowed Fountain. They cast Big Teferi, so... I'm gonna exile Kess here. We're going to Snapcaster Eliminate on our turn. Play field. Play Snapcaster. Target Eliminate. And eliminate the Spell Queller. Opponent has 2 cards in hand, and we gotta hope that this is gonna be good enough. So from this position, top decking Lightning Bolts, Cryptics. A lot of that would be good. Okay, opponent plays a Teferi Time Raveler. Unsummons Young Pyro. They do have a Dovin's Veto. We untap, we draw Koligon's Command. So, go to combat. Kill Teferi. Play Young Pyro. Play Steam Vents tapped. Pass the turn. Okay, Koligon's Command is almost certainly going to get countered by a Dovin's Veto. Opponent plays another Teferi Time Raveler. So we're going to make them discard and shoot our opponent. Make a token. Go a little wider. Force our opponent to veto here. Okay. We should kill Teferi this way because whether they uptick or downtick, they lose Teferi. Okay, they downtick on the token. We untap. We draw Cryptic Command. Go to combat. Attack Teferi. Attack our opponent. Okay, pass the turn. Leave up Cryptic. We'd actually activate Field of Ruin into a Cryptic Command if we wanted to. I have over an hour of footage, and we just got done with the second match. Whew, boy. Okay, I'm going to preemptively restart the client here before we go into the next game. Alrighty, round 3, here we go. Let's hope it's not another, like, control matchup. I'd love to play first. Yeah, this seems like a good keep. Opponent reveals Luris of the Dream Den. Start Scalding Tarn, pass the turn. So I believe this is a matchup where we do Thought Scour ourselves. Okay, opponent starts Bauble. Cracks Bauble, looks at the top card of their deck. Plays a Bloodstained Mire, fetches... It's a Blood Crypt tapped? Interesting. So fetch up a Watery Grave. Thought Scour ourself. Draw Force of Negation, mill Lightning Bolt Thought Scour. Opponent draws an extra card. We draw Frantic Inventory, so play Scalding Tarn, pass the turn. Could force if we have to. Not sure we want to, though. I'd laugh really hard if my opponent played a Scourge here, because we could just cling. Opponent Thought Seizes. Yeah, we let this happen. Oh, we can't just cling, because there's no creatures in the grave, never mind. So my opponent probably has to take Fatal Push, I think. The fact that they're taking so long tells me that this is not a matchup they normally play, which we're playing sort of jank control. By jank, I mean off-meta, it's not really jank. Opponent takes Cling to Dust. Passes. We're going to fetch up a basic island here and cast Frantic Inventory. Okay, we get a Creeping Tar Pit, untap. Draw Steam Vents, play Scalding Tarn, pass the turn. We have the option to Fatal Push, hard cast Force of Negation. Okay, opponent plays an Abbot of Carol Keep, revealing the top card of their library to be an Arid Mesa. That's pretty good. So, Fatal Push Abbot, crack Scalding Tarn. I meant to get a Steam Vents. I did not. Oops. Alright, well, untap. Draw Polluted Delta. And, play Polluted Delta. Oh, we don't have another Steam Vents, do we? Oh, I guess we should. I think it's 2 Steam Vents. Well, pass the turn. Maybe I'm just, a little bit on the dumb side today. Opponent fetches up a Blood Crypt. Tapped. I'm going to counter the Thoughtseize. I don't want them to see the new cards we've drawn, and I don't want them to lose more life. Okay, opponent plays a Bloodstained Mire. Clings to Dust our Cling to Dust. How rude. So at this point, I really don't know what my opponent is playing, because it really seems like Luris Burn. I guess I could have gotten Mystic Sanctuary to... Well, we don't really even have that many good Sanctuary targets. Play Creeping Tar Pit, pass the turn. Eliminate feels kind of nice to have drawn. I didn't realize how much my current game plan relied on my opponent not having a Cling to Dust. Well, it fetches up a basic Swamp. Plays a Black Cleave Cliffs. Puts Luris into their hand. We untap. Draw Polluted Delta. Play Polluted Delta. Pass the turn. Do I Mystic Sanctuary for a Thought Scour here? Okay, so opponent plays Luris. They probably just play Abbot here, which means I should have clinged earlier when I had the chance. Yep. I guess we can wait until they reveal what they get off of Abbot. Proxa, Titan of Death's Hunger. Alright, kill Luris. I'm actually going to Mystic Sanctuary for a Thought Scour. They're gonna Cling to Dust Thought Scour? Oh gosh, okay. Well, I'm not doing that then. Untap. We draw Drown in the lock. Animate Tar Pit. Get in for 3. Hit our opponent to 12, play Steam Vents tapped. Pass the turn. So I guess this is the... Is this the Skelemental deck? Is this the Unearth Mardu deck? No, it wouldn't be because they have Lurrus. Well, they are playing Unearth. Yeah, I think I have to counter the Unearth because we can't let Lurrus hit the field and let our opponent get value out of that. So we are going to counter Unearth here. If my opponent has a second one, then I guess... Opponent bolts our face. Bolts our face again. Lava darts. And that's game. Yeah, I get it. Alright. So Cling to Dust was very important. Versus my opponent's deck, I kind of want Anger. I kind of want Ashiok. Kind of want Kalitas, Collective Brutality, and a third Cling to Dust. Honestly feels good. I'm going to cut a Thought Scour for Cling to Dust. Logic Knot seems kind of bad. Force of Negation is playable. Yeah, it might need Force of Negation. I have to cut 5 cards. I'm going to try bringing in only one Ashiok. Maybe go down a Cryptic to keep the curve a little lower. I could cut Kess. She's like half the reason to play the deck the way it is. The others being the Snapcasters. I guess Eliminate is a really inefficient removal spell here. Like, it's still good, it's just inefficient. Then I gotta cut 2 more cards. I don't want to cut a bunch of Thought Scours, but I think I have to cut 2. Cut a Command. I have no idea what else to cut. Alright, we're going down to... Oh wait, no. Never mind. I keep trying to cut to 60 cards. Damn it, Bone Daddy, you and your 61 card decks. Throwing me for a loop. Alright, we'll play first. This hand doesn't do anything. I'm going to mulligan. This hand is a lot better. I'm going to keep this, and I think I put back Snapcaster. Okay. So we will start Polluted Delta. Pass the turn. Opponent starts Bloodstained Mire, cracks Bloodstained Mire, Blood Crypt, and Soulscar Mage. Okay. Crack this. I'm going to get a basic Swamp, and I'm going to Cling to Dust to Cantrip. Get a Drown in the lock. Okay. We untap, we draw a mountain. Play an island, pass the turn. Probably should have hit my own Polluted Delta, in case I drew Drown in the lock. I'm going to feel really silly if my opponent Thought Seizes. Okay, they play a Swift Spear. Now Lightning Bolt me. Oh, they play a Bauble. Okay. Come on, crack that Bauble pre-combat, you know you want to. Alright, that was a punt. That was indeed a punt. Frantic Inventory, we're going to draw a card. We draw a Drown in the lock. Untap. Opponent looks at the top card of our deck and sees that we draw a Field of Ruin. So, Steam Vents tapped, pass the turn. Opponent untaps, draws an extra card. They're going to play an Abbot. Okay. Abbot reveals Swamp. Opponent plays a Swamp. Goes to combat. Attacks. Actually, no, I guess I didn't have priority. I would have felt really silly if my opponent could have clinged to their own Bauble there. Okay, they hit us for 1. We untap. We draw a Creeping Tar Pit. So... play Field. Field of Ruin. Sunbaked Canyon. Get an island. Opponent gets a mountain. Pass the turn. Opponent plays another Abbot. Okay. And they hit a Cling to Dust. So they can cling our Cling. And we have 2 options. Either we can Drown to stop their Cling in the Dust here, or Cling to the Dust here. But I don't think us casting this one out of the grave actually matters. I think we have to kill the Abbot that can attack this turn. Otherwise, we're going to be real sad. But it's still going to hit us for 2. They take out our Cling. Now that we've used both Drowns, and we have nothing else to do, I actually think Ashiok's probably a fine play here. But it hits us for 2. They play a Black Cleave Cliffs tapped. Alright. Play Ashiok. We could actually mill ourself and then exile our opponent's grave. That is somewhat reasonable. Actually, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to mill myself. Okay. We hit no Frantic Inventories and no Cling to Dusts. That is kind of a neat trick that you can do with Ashiok if you have a deck that relies on getting certain cards into the grave. The good news is, we were drawing Polluted Delta unless we did that. The bad news is, he's just going to die immediately. So they can kill Ashiok and hit us for 2, or hit us for 3. Yeah. This is why Grixis control decks tend to not... I'm glad I kept this mountain. Anger of the Gods. This is why Grixis control tends to be way less popular than Azorius or Bant or Esper or any other blue-white based control deck. Simply because if I was playing blue-white control right now, I could play things like Timely Reinforcements. I could play things like Supreme Verdict. I could play tons of other things that can answer my opponent's creatures and or gain me life. Alright, Cling to Dust is pretty clutch here, not gonna lie. Take out Kroxa, gain some life. Pass the turn. So we just undid the Kroxa that occurred. Opponent plays a Blood Crypt tapped. Plays a Lurrus from hand. And passes. Well, I don't think we have much of a choice here, but we gotta take out that command and draw an extra card. We're gonna get rid of the lands, because we do not need them in grave. If my opponent has another Cling to Dust, they'll just take out ours. Draw Scalding Tarn. Play Scalding Tarn. Pass the turn. We can exile 6 cards out of our grave and Cling to Dust ourselves to maybe get somewhere. If my opponent plays multiple creatures onto the board, we could Scalding Tarn, get back... I don't even know at this point, actually. Alright, we'll take our beats, take 3. Okay, Cling to Dust, Bloodstained Mire. Getting rid of Ashiok, Drown, Anger, Cryptic. Probably should have gotten rid of Thought Scour instead of one of the Drowns, but okay. Frantic Inventory. Draw 2 cards. Crack Scalding Tarn. Get a Mystic Sanctuary. Put back Frantic Inventory. Untap. We draw Frantic Inventory, of course. Play Scalding Tarn, and honestly, Anger to get rid of just Lurrus is probably fine here. Ouch. Opponent is going to Kolaghan's Command, kill their own Lurrus. I think I'm going to counter Kolaghan's Command and bounce Mystic Sanctuary. Okay, Anger goes off. Pass the turn. If I didn't play a land there, F6ing through the rest of my turn and not Mystic Sanctuarying Cryptic was a huge mistake. Okay, opponent plays a fetch land. It's in for 1. Fetch with Scalding Tarn, go down to 6. Really hope my opponent's last 2 cards are not Bolt Bolt. Get a Watery Grave. Untap. See what we draw. Field of Ruin. Okay. Mystic Sanctuary. Put back Cryptic. Frantic Inventory. Draw Cryptic, 1 unknown. And pass the turn. Opponent plays a Bloodstained Mire. And passes. They've decided they can't beat Mystic Sanctuary Cryptic, despite the fact that we were like ultra dead there. I really think if my opponent had played that out, they would have won. I think they just got a little frustrated. Maybe this is a time to bring in Young Pyromancer? You know, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how to sideboard with this deck. We are approaching hour 2 of footage, and I'm not even done with match 3. Opponent kept 7. This hand's got a Fatal Push, but that's about it. I guess I have to keep, but I really need to draw red mana. My opponent almost F6 through their first turn. They play a mountain. They pass. We draw steam vents. That's red mana. Play Watergrave tapped, pass the turn. Okay, opponent plays a Sunbaked Canyon, second main. I have no idea what kind of hand they kept. We draw another Fatal Push. That's good. Play steam vents tapped, pass the turn. Okay, opponent plays an Abbot. Yeah, this is just getting pushed in response to the trigger. Abbot reveals a swamp. Opponent plays a swamp. We untap. Draw Field of Ruin. Play Field of Ruin. Pass the turn. That can let us get another red source for Anger of the Gods. I think we're set up pretty well, actually, right now. Okay, another Abbot. Revealing a Soulscar Mage. Opponent plays a Soulscar Mage. Sure. Into a Bloodstained Mire. Okay, crack field. Get a mountain. Untap. We draw Drown in the Lock. Okay, play Mystic Sanctuary. We could try and Anger now. I guess that would make them blow a lot of spells. So, let's do that. I shouldn't have... Well, I guess that was the only way we were probably going to get red mana. But if my opponent can cast 2 spells, they can keep Soulscar Mage alive. If not, they're going to lose out on a lot. They fetch up a Blood Crypt tapped, and they lose their board. Oh my gosh. That feels amazing. Okay, whenever they put Lurrus in hand is when we exile Abbot from the grave. Oh, they unearth Abbot. They get a Mishra's Bauble. They play a land. They put Lurrus in hand. Okay. Well, the plan now... Opponent looks at the top card of their own deck, because they have a fetch land and they can crack it if they don't like what they see. Okay. We draw Polluted Delta, which is perfect. Okay, so the plan here is to counter Lurrus. Actually, I'm going to Kolaghan's Command now, make them discard and kill Abbot. Then we're going to counter Lurrus when they play it. Or we would counter an Unearth on Lurrus if they discard it. They discard Angrath's Rampage. Okay. They draw a card for Mishra's Bauble. They draw a card for turn. They play Arid Mesa. They crack it. They play a Mountain. They play a Kroxa. Do we care about Kroxa? Not more than we care about Lurrus, I think. So, Kroxa enters... Oh, I guess they can actually hard cast Kroxa, which is a big deal. So, let me see what our options are here. We can either fetch a Swamp, Cling to Dust Kroxa now, and they can't recast him. Or, if we do that, they play Lurrus, and they get back like a Mishra's Bauble and draw a card. Which I guess is fine. Yeah, we have to stop them from replaying a Kroxa. So, fetch up a basic Swamp. Cling to Dust. Kroxa. And we're going to discard Fatal Push here, because it's just our least versatile card. If our opponent got to recast a Kroxa there, we would be in kind of deep trouble, because Drown in the Lock would cease being good. And... Alright, we untap. I'm hoping for a land. Opponent looks at the top card of our deck. We draw a Lightning Bolt. That is better. Lightning Bolt Lurrus now before they can replay anything. Pass the turn. We have 3 options. We can drown their play, we can Factor Fiction to draw cards, or we can Cling to Dust something if we want to Cling to Dust something. Which honestly, Cling to Dust on Lurrus is not a bad proposition. Okay. Opponent plays a Blackcleave Cliffs. We're in an extremely reactionary position right now. Okay. I'm going to Factor Fiction. Opponent's going to Cling to Dust our Cling to Dust, that's fine. They're going to Kolaghan's Command to make us discard Drown in the Lock and pick up Lurrus. Okay. Well, depending on what we get off this Factor Fiction, I think I gotta take... Do I have to take the Anger? Yeah. That makes them have to have a Thoughtseize. I think opponent split was good. Okay, Drown in the Lock is exactly what I want to see. I'm not going to play out this island in case my opponent plays another Kroxa or something similar. I will counter a Luris. Collective Brutality. Well, better not give them the option, I guess. Counter Collective Brutality. I just need some Snapcasters now. Opponent does not play into Anger Gods. That's really good for us. Kolaghan's Command is also good. We have no creatures in the grave we can use to take advantage of it, though. Okay, opponent cracks Arid Mesa. Finds a Sacred Foundry tapped. I think they're using Cling to Dust. They're hitting our Factor Fiction. Okay. If I had my own Cling to Dust, I would cling it. I would cling right there to prevent my opponent from drawing. Okay, opponent untaps. Opponent plays a tap land. Plays a Bauble. Cracks Bauble, looks at the top card of our deck. Passes. We untap, opponent draws, and we draw Scalding Tarn. Play Scalding Tarn, pass the turn. Don't think that changes anything for us. Okay, opponent plays another Bauble. Cracks it looking at the top card of our deck. Trying to use that to gain more information. Still not playing into that Anger of the Gods. Which tells me that taking it was definitely the right choice. Okay, play Polluted Delta. Pass the turn. We're playing those lands because those are the ones our opponent has seen off of Bauble. If you have the option and it makes a difference, it's something to consider, but whatever your opponent is playing, make sure it's Bauble. And in general, whenever they see things with Thoughtseize or Peek or Probe, depending on what format you're playing, just like be aware of what information you've shown them, because every little bit of information you can hide is technically an advantage. Okay, I'm going to thin my deck here. The Watery Grave. I'm going to get a Blood Crypt here, in case my opponent is playing Boil. Untap. Play Polluted Delta. Pass the turn. We were trying to avoid that. This opponent is going to Cling to Dust. I mean, if they draw enough, they can eventually get to a point where they can just get enough prowess triggers to survive an Anger of the Gods with most of their creatures. But we're still at a really high life total. Okay, opponent plays a Soulscar Mage. Crack Polluted Delta. Get our last Steam Vents tapped. And I think I'm going to make my opponent discard and shoot Soulscar Mage. Okay, opponent bolts our face just to get a prowess trigger so that Soulscar Mage survives. That's fine. We forced them to use resources. We made them discard Blood Crypt, or Bloodstained Mire, excuse me. We untap, draw a Lightning Bolt. So, Lightning Bolt, Soulscar. I'm not even going to wait. Okay, opponent Lightning Bolts our face. I'm just going to F6 because we do want to hold on to this island. And Lightning Bolts again. So they will be down to whatever card they cling into and a Luris in hand. So Cling to Dust. They hit Kolaghan's Command. Draw a card. They untap. I mean, they're looking for a Thoughtseize. They play Swift Spear. They play another Swift Spear. Last card in hand is Luris. They hit us to 7. Okay, we draw Cryptic Command, which is perfect. So, blow Anger of the Gods here. And pass the turn. And now we have Cryptic for Luris. They play Abbot. Okay, we have to let Abbot resolve. Another Abbot? Are you kidding me? Into a Soul Guide Lantern? So that Anger is the only sweeper we have left. And if I counter this Soul Guide Lantern, they just play Luris and get it back. So we have to hold on to Cryptic and pray that somehow, some way, we draw into enough single target removal, which I'm not even sure we have left. One's gonna hit Anger. Yep. But like Cryptic Tap is like our only hope at the moment, because we don't have any more Anger of the Gods. Untap. Draw Frantic Inventory. So play Frantic Inventory. Draw a card. Why? I don't even think we have fetchable lands left. We might have an island. Kind of hoping our opponent just cracks the Soul Guide Lantern now. They do not. Collective Brutality. Alright, well tap and draw is really the only mode we got. Kind of hoping to draw, like, not a Cryptic, actually. Because that's a card they can take. I was honestly hoping for a Snapcaster Mage, but I'm not sure there's a way we can win at this point, because we've gotten rid of both of our sweepers. They've gotten rid of both of our sweepers, and we need a sweeper. Like, my opponent can just play Abbott here, have a full board. Well, they can just play Bauble and just draw an extra card, or they can sacrifice Soul Guide Lantern and play it out again, and that removes all of our grave-based synergy, the grave-based value. Opponent plays a Bauble. Cracks it to draw. I think they're looking at our top card. Okay. We untap, they draw a card. Oh, we have Kalitas, don't we? We draw a Lightning Bolt. Okay. We have no choice but to Lightning Bolt Luris right now. If we don't, my opponent just plays Mishra's Bauble out of the grave and kills us. They can sack Soul Guide Lantern if they're holding a land, and then activate Cling to Dust. But then they have to have something else to take us from, instead of doing 6 damage, do 7. Okay, opponent unearths Luris, and I'm pretty sure that's game over. Because my opponent has 2 redraws now. Yeah. No, I think Grixis control is way worse than Azorius, because if I were playing Azorius control right now, I would have massive planeswalkers that could generate advantage, take over the board. I would have timely reinforcements out of our sideboard. Yeah. I will say, though, with this deck, our losses are pretty hard fought. Like, match 1 and match 3, we could have won. With slightly better luck than we had. And probably slightly better play, because I am by no means an expert for this deck. Alright. Round 4. Would love to play first. I guess we have lands and spells, so might as well keep. We will start with a Shocked Watery Grave, which I'm not a huge fan of. Well, that's the other thing. Technically, blue-white control has less painful mana than most Grixis control decks do. Because Grixis tends to have cards that are cost prohibitive or color intensive, and so this looks like Uro. Oh, it's actually Yorion, so we're gonna Thought Scour ourselves here. They tend to have cards that are color cost intensive, and your opponents, or like, what was I saying? Okay, so Grixis decks tend to be color cost intensive, and Azorius decks tend not to be. A lot of the cards, other than your finishers, a lot of your answers only require single color mana, unless you're playing things like Quarantine Field, but nobody does that, except maybe me. And in Grixis, you have cards that are double blue, and you have like, some of your better cards are triple blue, because you have like Cryptic, but you also need black for Fatal Push, and you also need red for Lightning Bolt. And it just gets a little bit awkward. Okay, we draw Watery Grave, play Field of Ruin. Pass the turn. I will be fielding the land with Abundant Growth on it, because this draws when it enters. Yeah. Okay. I could also potentially flash Brazen Borrower and try and get down a clock, which is pretty reasonable as well, considering the fact that we have 2 Lightning Bolts in hand. But odds are my opponent, especially if they're missing mana, are also going to be choked on colors as well as just amount of mana. So we are going to field here. It also makes a future Yorion potentially way worse. I'm going to get a Mountain, and I'm going to Lightning Bolt my opponent. I don't think I ever finished the control thought. Anyway, Azorius control, you're almost base blue, your cards cost single white until you get to things like Big Gideon. Grixis control, your colors are all over the place, and you don't have access to things like the double check land that I can't remember the name of. Prairie Stream. You don't have access to a Prairie Stream equivalent, and your mana has to be mostly non-basics, whereas blue-white control, your lands can be mostly basics. You're technically softer to Blood Moon, too, because of it. Even though you do play red. Yep. Okay. Gonna slap down a Watery Grave there untapped, and pass the turn. Okay, opponent untaps. Plays a Forest. Sure. Alright, now that there's no risk of, like, counterspell, flash in Brazen Borrower. Bolt opponent. The opponent assassins trophies us. We'll get another island. Untap. That actually helps, because if we draw a land, we can snap Cryptic. Nice. And now we can snap Cryptic and put one of our other spells on top if we want to immediately draw it. Otherwise, I mean, we can just still snap Lightning Bolt. Okay, opponent cycles a Triome. That's fine. They cycle a Triome without having a land to play. That screams suspicious to me. Okay. Polluted Delta, we're going to get Mystic Sanctuary. Put Cryptic Command on top of our deck. Okay. And opponent gives up. So versus Yorion, 4-color control. I want Ashiox for sure. Collective Brutality doesn't seem bad either. I don't think I want Cleansing Wildfire. I don't think I want Anger of the Gods. I probably want Young Pyro. I'm not sure what to cut, because I'm not sure what they play. I'm going to try cutting the Fatal Pushes, and I think the Eliminate. No, I don't want Collective Brutality, I want Young Pyro. And I'll cut a Thought Scour for another Young Pyro. I'm going to keep all the counter spells in, because they should be good. Just kind of want to close the game a little bit faster if I have the option. Alright, well we got cantrips. Keep this. Opponent's deck is slow, and I mean, we do slow very well. Force of Negation seems very good. Utopia Sprawl. We have Field of Ruin in this deck, but also, I don't know if my opponent has a second land. I'm going to force this. I do not want them accelerating. Yeah, so playing Utopia Sprawl on a non-basic land, when I'm pretty sure my opponent saw Field of Ruin. Actually, yeah, we Field of Ruin in Abundant Growth. Playing Utopia Sprawl on a non-basic land screams, hey, I don't have any other lands, and I definitely don't have any basic forests. So, yeah, that was definitely worth it. Play an island, pass the turn. I think we're just going to Frantic Inventory this turn. Another Utopia Sprawl. Okay. Well, we can't do anything about that one. Putting Utopia Sprawl on red. Does that mean anything to me? It'd mean like a Dreadbore or Bolt. Doubt it means Blood Moon. So Frantic Inventory, we draw a land, which is good. Polluted Delta. Alright. Let's land Ashiok Dreamweaver. Or Dreamrender. Not Dreamweaver. What am I saying? This league has been so long already, it's just draining my brain. We'll mill our opponent. Our opponent certainly has a lot of fetch lands because the increase in size of their deck decreases the consistency of their mana base. Oh, and they have Omnath. So being able to restrict what colors they can play and when is kind of a big deal. I don't want to down take Ashiok to 3 because I think my opponent has burn spells. And if they do, I want to make them use more than one. Okay, opponent plays Renin 6. Plays a Forest. Alright, we draw another Kolagon's Command. Okay, play Polluted Delta. Now I'm fine down ticking. Pass the turn. We had a Niv Mizzet and another Omnath, as well as a Bring to Light. Okay, opponent picks up a non-existent land. plays a Stomping Ground. Untapped. Okay, on my opponent's end step, let's Frantic Inventory and draw some cards. We're leaving Polluted Delta uncracked for as long as we can because if we do that, we potentially can get a Mystic Sanctuary at a clutch moment. We draw a Swamp. Play Field of Ruin. Field and Datha Triome. Take them off of a mana entirely. Opponent is going to Abrupt Decay Ashiok. Does that matter, and can we do anything about it? Okay, I'm going to fetch a Mystic Sanctuary here. I'm going to put Force of Negation on top of my deck. And immediately mill my opponent. I don't like milling an opponent that has Uro, but I do like having a Force of Negation versus whatever my opponent is doing. Okay. So opponent Abrupt Decays Ashiok. Field of Ruin goes off. We get, I guess, a mountain. I would have gotten a swamp here, but we're holding one. Okay, opponent gets a basic island, and we pass. I guess we have to start using these Kolaghan's commands to just try and keep our opponent's hand empty of cards and keep Wrenn and 6 from ulting. So my opponent can pick up and play the tap land. Yep. But we took out the Utopia Sprawl, meaning there's still a mana behind, where they otherwise would be anyway. Okay, we untap. We draw a Scalding Tarn, play a Swamp. Pass the turn. Leave up Cryptic. Slash Kolaghan's command with Force of Negation backup. Okay, opponent untaps, draws a card. Okay, my opponent cracks a Prismatic Vista. That's fine. Gets a Snow-Covered Swamp. They pick up Prismatic Vista. Now they Thoughtseize. So we are going to Force of Negation. They have Veil of Summer. Okay. So make them discard, hit Wrenn and 6. They just discard the Prismatic Vista they picked up. Force of Negation fizzles. They probably take Cryptic. Kolaghan's command is not especially scary when it's not buying back things like Snapcaster and stuff. We also don't have a second Mystic Sanctuary here, which feels kind of bad. I'd love to top deck a Frantic Inventory. That would be sweet. Okay. Opponent has a Teferi Time Raveler, which is another reason to be playing blue-white over Grixis. Yeah. This game's over. I could play this out, and it's certainly correct to try and play it out, but I would put that in like a less than 5% chance to win from that position. Yeah, just run it back. Alright, we'll play first. Yeah, this actually seems pretty fair. We'll keep. So depending on how much early interaction our opponent's hand has, potentially Young Pyromancer could just run away with this game. Okay, I gotta restart the client again. Really, that lag adding up and making every little action that I take as a deck that's already slow, like, even longer, is really extra frustrating and a little bit tilting for me. And I'm trying not to let it bother me, but it is. Just frankly, it is. It's a fine Utopia Sprawl you have floating out in the middle of nowhere, opponent. Alright. Opponent has red-blue, so we play Young Pyro. If we had a Force of Negation, this hand would be amazing, but unfortunately we do not. Jeskai colors. Opponent Lightning Helixes the Young Pyro. Okay. We untap. We draw a Kess. Well, now we have to draw. Scalding Tarn is good. Play Scalding Tarn, pass. Opponent plays an Uro. completely invalidating the whole bolt my opponent plan right now. I really hope they don't have a land to play naturally. Okay, well they have a land to play off of Uro. Yeah, we'll get another Steam Vets. Untap. Draw field. Play field. Let's go ahead and field the Stomping Ground. And we'll get a Swamp so that we have Drown in the Lock active. Okay, pass the turn. Opponent plays a Windswept Teeth. Cracks Windswept Teeth. Oh great, my opponent is going to cast Uro from the grave, and I can't do anything about it. Because Drown in the Lock can't counter an Uro when my opponent exiles all the cards out of their grave. Oh, they get a Triome. Alright, that gives me a chance. At least with Cryptic I could counter it. Maybe they were worried about a mana leak. Which honestly, it kind of feels like this deck wants. Drown in the Lock is nice because of its versatility, but at the same time, I think this deck wants mana leak. And like, judging from the last few leagues I've played, the like mono, or like the Izzet or Grixis or whatever deck that's like mono counter spells the deck, I imagine would feel a lot better to play than this deck, even if it was less consistent. Okay, I'm going to Drown in the Lock that. Veil of Summer. Okay. Mana Leak there wouldn't do anything, never mind. It'd be the exact same level of efficiency. I mean, there's no way my opponent doesn't immediately tick up Wrenn and 6. If they do anything else with their priority, or pass priority accidentally, I Lightning Bolt Wrenn and 6 immediately. But they do not. In fact, I still might Lightning Bolt Wrenn and 6 at end step. Okay, the Crack Misty. Yeah, we still Lightning Bolt here. Overgrown Tomb untapped. Thoughtseize can't be countered. Sure. Bolt Wrenn and 6. I'm not sure what they take here. Snapcaster or Kess. Probably Snapcaster, I think. Cryptic. No, they take Cryptic, because they're just going to cast Uro, and Cryptic's the only thing we have that interacts with Uro right now. So, one of the big problems that I'm noticing with this deck, when you look at the list for this deck, it really feels like, oh, this deck can answer anything. We have Cryptic commands, we have Lightning Bolts, we have Fatal Pushes, so we have hard removal and burn. We can do the tempo thing, we can Bolt, Snap, Bolt. You know, just deal 6 damage to our opponent's face and have an onboard attacker. But at the same time, it's not good enough. And the other problem that it has is, while this deck can answer anything, the cards that it has are spread out in such a way that you have the, like, I drew the wrong half of the deck problem. And, I mean, like, I could totally just be a bad pilot for this deck, or playing it the wrong way, or, like taking lines that don't end towards, you know, the means that this deck needs to go to. Like, I could totally be playing this deck wrong. But to me, it feels like I'm playing... I'm playing, like, Control with no finisher. Because, like, all of the decks that I've played against, I think, this one in particular, this one gains a ton of life. The deck that I just played against, the Luris Burn deck, Luris Burn can gain a lot of life, because they have a life-linking creature, as well as, like, Cling to Dusts and stuff. But, like, that was fine. We should have been able to out-control them. We just got a little unlucky. I don't know. I kind of lost track if I was complaining or making a real point, but... Alright, 4-color Bring the Light. Probably gets an Omnath. I mean, if they do get an Omnath, we can Drown in the Locket, which is nice. And it kind of feels sad, because, like, the type of deck that I'm playing right now has never really been good in Modern. Like, as a meta call, it's been able to take down tournaments, and it does play well against certain types of Modern decks. But, like... Oh, they just Maelstrom Pulse Kess? Okay, that's fair. But, like, in general, this type of deck does not do well. Simply because, for the, like, literally the entire time that Modern has been a format, with the exception of like one or two metas, like maybe with Treasure Cruise or something like that, and even with Treasure Cruise specifically, it has been better to be proactive than reactive across the entire history of the Modern format. This sort of like, Grixis Burn, Cruel Control, Snapcaster, Kolaghan's Commands decks have existed, but like, I don't think they've ever really been good other than when Splinter Twin was legal. And that was because they had the ability to just kill you with a combo in addition to having really powerful reactive early game. Yeah. I'm going to make my opponent discard and pick up Kess. Opponent is Snapcaster Mage. I guess for Thoughtseize. In that case, I'm going to pick up Kess, and I'm going to kill Snapcaster Mage. They pretty much have to Thoughtseize Kess now, and then we can if we draw a land, we have Snapcaster Cryptic, or we have Snapcaster Kolaghan's Command. Pick up Kess for the third time. Okay, we drew a Frantic Inventory. Pass the turn. I'm going to place a Godless Shrine tapped. Oh, they can't play Uro. They don't have 2 blue mana. So, Snapcaster for Kolaghan's Command. Kolaghan's Command, okay, return Kess, make our opponent discard. Red, red, black. Okay, opponent discards Abrupt Decay. It's kind of nice. Opponent Abrupt Decay, Snapcaster Mage. Sure. We untap. Draw Watery Grave. Take inventory. I think I just want to play Search for Iskanta. And save Kess for a turn where we can follow her up with an actual spell. I also think that Path is a far better removal spell than Push or Bolt in the current Modern metagame, because, holy crap, my opponent just picked up like 4 cards. Because of things like Uro, other creatures with high toughness, the exile is super important. Giving your opponent a land, like, doesn't even matter at that point. Like, yeah, it's just like giving you, like, playing white gives you access to higher power cards, and they're kind of mistakes, like 3 mana to Fairy, right? Alright, we draw Thought Scour, play Kess, drown in the lock to kill Niv Mizzet. Then I'm going to Thought Scour myself. Lightning Bolt is nice. So is Fact or Fiction. You know what might actually be fun? So it hasn't been done successfully ever, really, because the numbers don't line up right. The way that it interacts is different. But, like, I'm going to try and take this in a constructive direction, because I feel like I've complained a lot. If you want to play a blue-red deck that's like a bunch of counter spells, some burn spells, heck, even if you want to splash Kess for, a grindy late-game value-type engine, I think you could probably play Kiki combo, like Pestermite Kiki combo, somewhat successfully right now. Because when you look at the types of decks that you're up against, a lot of them play quite fairly. Like this one does. And the worst thing, like the biggest threat you have to deal with is something like Thoughtseize. Okay, we're going to animate Creeping Tar Pit here. Go to combat. Get in for 3. Get our opponent down to 7. Pass the turn. But I bet, with just a little bit of finagling, and maybe a semi-decent way to protect Kiki, I'm not sure what that is. You could probably play a pretty decent counter burn, because then you only have to control for 4 turns and land a Pestermite along the way. And Kiki has one advantage that Splinter Twin does not, and that is Kiki Jiki does not get countered by Force of Negation. So in a hypothetical meta where Splinter Twin is legal, Kiki Jiki does have that going for him. Maybe I should build that. Yeah, I think I should try and build that. just because I feel like having like a combo finish to a deck is better than trying to grind in a deck like this. In any Izzet or Grixis deck. I'm going to fetch Scalding Tarn here, and I'm going to get a Mystic Sanctuary, putting a, I guess, Factor Fiction on top. I should have put back a Lightning Bolt. Does my opponent have any removal spells that hit... Yeah, they do, actually. They definitely picked up a Lightning Helix. I guess in that case, I probably should have gotten Frantic Inventory or Cryptic. I'm not bolting there, because I don't want to reveal that I have a bolt. Drown in the Lock is good. Kolaghan's Command is also good. I don't care about Force. I don't really care about Cryptic either. I'm going to say, if that's the split, I love it. Yeah, no, I'll take pile 1. Like every day. Play an island. Drown here. Pass the turn. Because now I can Kolaghan's Command to pick up Snapcaster and shock my opponent. I guess they have Lightning Helix. Yeah, that does take us to 4. They go up to 10. We still have 10 damage, though. So if my opponent unmoored Egos Lightning Bolt, we lose. I think we technically lose if they gain any more life as well. Don't do it. They know we're holding Kolaghan's Command. So Lightning Bolt them. We're going to pick up Kess, because we can't draw Kess. Whereas we could draw a Snapcaster or a Lightning Bolt. This gives us 2 different cards that will deal damage from the grave. In the form of Kolaghan's Command or Lightning Bolt. If my opponent names Kess, we have to draw another Kolaghan's Command, which I don't think we have, or our last bolt, I think, to win. They name Kess, we draw a Young Pyro. They're casting something at the beginning of combat. They passed a second main. Play Teferi Time Raveler. They downtick to draw. Okay, we have 3 damage on board. We need to draw 2 damage. There it is. So, assuming this guy gets in and kills our opponent. Someone's growling in his sleep. Attack our opponent for 3. Okay, we're going to do this the technically correct way. Play Young Pyro. Snapcaster Lightning Bolt. Our opponent luckily did not have a Cling to Dust. Or Surgical. Alright. I'll see you guys in round 5. Hang on. I'm going to restart the client again. Alright. I'll see you guys in round 5. Alright. Round 5. Here we go. We are 2 hours, 46 minutes, and 13 seconds into recording. I've had to use a lot of my brain for each and every one of these games. And oh my god, am I against Ponza. Okay. It's just a good old-fashioned Jund Death Shadow, looks like. Or, perhaps... this could be Living End. I was gonna say Living Death. Living End? Living End. I suspect this is Living End. Okay. Or Jund Death Shadow. Jund Death Shadow, still a valid choice. When it picks up a Verdant Catacombs. Crack Scalding Tarn. Get an island. Thought Scour ourself. Okay. We mill Fatal Push Cryptic Command. Draw Steam Vents. Play Polluted Delta. Pass the turn. When it picks up Wooded Foothills. Plays Verdant Catacombs. Cracks Verdant Catacombs. Gets a Swamp. So fetch. Get a Steam Vents. Untapped. Thought Scour ourself. Thought Scour ourself. I was kind of hoping to hit a Frantic Inventory. Okay, we hit a Polluted Delta. Play Polluted Delta. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a magmatic channeler. Okay. Thought Scour ourself. We mill Cling to Dust. We draw Snapcaster. Snapcaster is nice. I really, really was hoping we'd hit a Frantic Inventory. I'm going to Petty Theft Renin 6. Untap. Opponent has to discard to hand size. They discard a Wooded Foothills. We draw Creeping Tar Pit. Play Creeping Tar Pit. Snapcaster Mage. We're going to Sorcery Speed this Fatal Push. Okay, pass the turn. Opponent replays Renin 6. Down ticks to kill Snap. Plays a Bauble. Cracks Bauble to draw. Plays a Bloodstained Mire. Cracks Bloodstained Mire. Gets a Blood Crypt tapped. They are down to 9. We untap. They draw a card. We draw Kolaghan's Command. So, pick up Snapcaster. Kill Renin 6. Play Polluted Delta. Pass the turn. Yeah, I'm going to get Mystic Sanctuary, I think, to put Cryptic Command on top. And then I'm going to Frantic Inventory. Okay. Opponent Inquisitions. Alright, we'll let them take whatever. We don't need to Frantic Inventory to draw anything yet. They take Snapcaster, because that's our only threat at the moment to them. Crack Polluted Delta. Get Mystic Sanctuary. Put Cryptic on top. Frantic Inventory to draw it. Untap. Draw Kolaghan's Command. Play Creeping Tar Pit. Pass the turn. Now, we're in a really powerful position. We can do any number of things. So opponent Thought Seizes. We could counter this and bounce Mystic Sanctuary. Actually, don't think we need to. We're going to let our opponent Thought Seize whatever they'd like here. Because we have good lines with either card. Okay. Flash in Brazen Borrower. Untap. Opponent hard casts Dismember. Sure. We draw a Field of Ruin. Animate Tar Pit. Play Field of Ruin. Go to combat. Attack for 3. Opponent has a Fatal Push. That's fine. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Death Shadow. Okay. On our opponent's end step, we're going to pick up a Snapcaster Mage and deal 2 damage to our opponent. Oh, I made them discard. That was bad. My bad, everybody. We draw a Search for Azcanta. Snapcaster Mage. For Eliminate. Eliminate Death Shadow. Play Blood Crypt tapped. And play Search for Azcanta. If I'm taking weird lines that don't make any sense to anyone else, I'm very tired. It is rolling up on midnight. Abrupt Decay Search for Azcanta. You got it, dude. Traverse. Here comes the Death Shadow. Death Shadow for the opponent. We untap. We draw. Drown in the Lock. Drown Shadow. Animate Tar Pit. Only has 1 card in hand. Hit them for 5. They go to 2. Play Steam Vents tapped. Pass the turn. Alright. Opponent needs a blocker for Snapcaster and removal for Creeping Tar Pit, but they don't have it. Okay. Bringing in Ashiok. I don't want Collective Brutality because it kills into like nothing that they have. I may want Young Pyro. Logic Knot feels bad. Cryptic really isn't that great either, so I can cut 1. Engineered Explosives might be really strong, or it might do nothing. Alright, we're going to run it like this. Alright, we'll keep. We do have some powerful interactions in this hand. We do have meaningful ways to interact with our opponent. But we do need to draw another land of basically any kind. Interestingly enough, our opponent does not fetch and shock. Play Polluted Delta, pass the turn. If my opponent casts Thoughtseize, I'm going to shock a Watery Grave and Cling to Dust their land out of their grave. If they play Wrenn and 6, I will also Cling to Dust whatever land they play. Look at the top card of their deck. Decide it's not worth it. And it's going to be a Wrenn and 6. They target Bloodstained Mire. So fetch with Polluted Delta, get a Watery Grave, untapped, Cling to Dust, hit Bloodstained Mire. We draw a Bolt. Okay. I'd like to draw Steam Vents off the top. That'd be fantastic. Frantic Inventory is okay, I guess. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent did have another land, which is bad for us, but it's reasonable for them to have. Fetch up a basic swamp. Pick up Catacombs. 3 mana. Ashiok Dream Render. I mean, we have a lot of fetch lands, and that's pretty bad. Okay. Cast Frantic Inventory. Try and draw land. We don't. Mill 3 lands. Untap. We draw Eliminate. Eliminate Wrenn and 6, as Wrenn and 6 is by far the greater threat. We can always just Lightning Bolt Ashiok after they down tick it one more time. But we do need to draw lands to win this game. And our opponent's playing Choke. That's garbage. I don't know if I've ranted about how much I hate Choke. But Choke is the kind of land destruction that's not okay. Blood Moon is the kind of land destruction that is okay. Choke punishes you for playing basic lands, which are the most essential component to the game. Blood Moon punishes you for getting a greedy mana base. Boil is the wrong kind of land destruction, and so is Flash Fires. Fulminator Mage is the right kind of land destruction. Alright. Opponent's running... I really want to swear, but it's also not necessary. I guess that means we bring in Engineered Explosives as an onboard answer to Choke. And I guess 3 mana Ashiok. I'm gonna cut a Scour for it. Really not thrilled about this. Alright, I'd love to play first. Good hand, decent mana, good spells, we'll keep. This version of the deck might have too many kill spells and not enough counter spells. And I think it's because it's playing Drown in the Loch as a way to do both. But frequently Drown in the Loch has been worse than a Mana Leak. It occasionally has done things Mana Leak can't do, like it killed a Colonnade this league, which was pretty sweet. But I think in general, it would be better to have a different spell in that slot. I don't know. I'm past the point of giving good critique and good commentary, I think. My brain is zonked after 3 hours of recording. This is an hour and a half longer than most leagues take me that I play for my channel. But it plays a Magmatic Channeler. We have no way to kill that. Like, I wish this was a Mana Leak right now. I really, really wish this was... Or a Rune Snag. Or even a Jwari Isle Disruption or a Censor might be good here. Alright, fetch up a Steam Vents. Untapped. Frantic Inventory. Draw Kess, which is kind of awkward right now. Draw an Ashiok. Play an Ashiok. Maybe we can shut off a fetch land or something. Down tick on our opponent. We hit, well, the land that was in their grave, 2 lands, Tarmogoyf and Dismember. I guess if I was bringing in Ashiok, opponent just fetched into an Ashiok. They're playing that card. Come on, dude. I mean, like, I got an excuse. I suppose you should too. Opponent plays a Goyf. Really want to draw an untapped land so we can play it, crack explosives onto, and make our opponent really sad. Untapped land 1 time. Ugh. Fine. Down tick on our opponent. Double Traverse, Scourge, and Inquisition. Well, we can't even play engineered explosives because they play abrupt decay and like a bunch of other removal that would be really problematic. Koligon's command here is a little awkward. It actually would almost certainly grow the Tarmogoyf. Alright, they're gonna kill Ashiok, yeah, that's fine. I could have flashed in a Snapcaster to block, but I also don't care about Ashiok that much. Okay, they shock an Overgrown Tomb, Inquisition, and now they're gonna take engineered explosives. I can't even counter this with Drown in the Loch. Yep. I guess I should have played it out to see if they had like an engineered explosives. Or not an engineered explosives, a Assassin's Trophy to get us a land. Alright, make them discard, shoot them. We can at least turn on Drown in the Loch this way. They discard Death Shadow. That's troublesome. Draw Search for Iskanta. Yeah, but I think we gotta just kill Goyf here. Pass the turn. Okay. Opponent draws Death Shadow, or they play it anyway. So we need an untapped land so we can Snapcast or Drown. Opponent discards a Koligon's command. Exiles a Bloodstained Miner. They also exiled Choke, thankfully, because all of our lands are islands. They draw a card off of Bauble. Come on! Where are all of our 1-mana spells? Play Search for Iskanta. Pass the turn. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep, they take a Snapcaster. Discard Kess. That's 10. They can fetch and shock, and we die. Unbelievable. Alright, so Search for Iskanta was probably the wrong play there. It probably should have been like Snapcaster just a block, because we needed to draw land and we were holding a Cryptic, and so, you know. Alright. The deck's awkward for control deck. It's not fast enough to be tempo, and it's not slow enough to be control. Its end game isn't heavy enough for control, and the like bolt snap bolt plan is too inconsistent to play tempo. It's really cool that the whole deck is flash. It didn't feel powerful enough. I think cutting some of the instant speed parts of the deck in favor of just heavier things to close out the game is going to be better. Yeah, I think there are times where this deck probably would have been very good in the modern metagame. I really don't feel like now is it. Honestly, I think this deck might be better off as just Dimir. Like, we lose Koligon's command, we lose all of the red sideboard, and we lose Lightning Bolt. But you could easily play like a Dimir Ninjas list? Or Dimir Fairies? Probably, like, if this deck had Bitter Blossom as, like, one of its threats, or if it had, like, the Fairy package, if I took out all the red cards and just put the Fairy package in the deck, I feel like the deck, I don't know, it's just like, you could make the deck heavier or you can make the deck faster, but the deck in its current form is too underpowered to do either unless your opponent gets unlucky. I think that's the best way for me to sum it up. I don't want to rag on the deck too much, because it is really fun. Like, it's really fun to play. It just, like, it falls off quick as you go into the late game. And, like, yeah, I'm aware you can do stuff like, oh, you can Koligon's command and you can, like, start looping Snapcaster mages to, like, pick them up out of the grave. And the only time that we could have done that, we were either winning a different way, or our opponent's interaction was too powerful and prevented us from doing that, or we didn't have enough mana. Frantic Inventory, I love Frantic Inventory as a card advantage spell. That card, like, 2 mana instant speed, draw 2 cards, feels awesome. I was a little salty that we cast a playset of Thought Scours and didn't mill one while we were holding one, you know, but that's gonna happen. Yeah, I think I'm too tired for any other meaningful commentary, so if you like this video, please leave a like, drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think about this deck. What direction would you take it to improve it? Personally, I would probably make an Izzet Kiki combo and run things like Izzet Charm and stuff like that. But let me know. If you want to catch me streaming live, I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on Twitch. Same username there as you find me on here. And yeah, I hope to see you there. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and see you guys next time. Bye!